All right, let's do this. All right, Blue Read, another day. Okay, so did anyone look this up? Did you guys just like struggle through it, or did you like look it up? You looked it up, or you struggled through it? Yeah, I mean it's good to struggle through it too, but no one looked it up. You did? I mean just like the first. So we're on the first 14 lines, right? Group 1. What we're going to do, just because it is more enjoyable this way, is you're going to explain to me, you're going to summarize the details that are important for us to understand what the heck's going on here, and then we'll talk about what's going on. But if I don't draw it, and if I draw something and it doesn't make sense, it's on you guys. But if you were maybe listening to him describe this, you might have been like, I wonder if someone's drawn this. And then you did a Google image search, and then you found that, like, damn, a lot of people have drawn this. Probably because it's really weird sounding. And you're like, what is this? How is this working? Because only Glaucon is like, I see. And you're like, I don't. What the heck are you saying, man? So between both groups, you guys tell me the details that are super important here, and I'll even help you out a little bit. That's a cave. All right? Oh, and it just goes downhill from here, by the way. All right, so you tell me, what are the details of this cave that are important?
They're all black.
They're chained up.
So, okay, who is? What?
Prisoners.
There's prisoners, so where should I draw the prisoners?
Facing the light, or the hole.
Facing the hole? Facing this way. Okay.
Towards the edge.
All right, so here's a prisoner.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
All right, I'm just drawing him, Okay, and then what else?
Above and behind them, there's a fire.
Okay, so maybe over here?
Probably.
Sure.
Yeah, so the...
What is that? Little fire. They said, what is that?
Here, I can help you. I can help you with this.
Yeah, orange and yellow.
I mean, this is not the important thing, but yeah. All right, cool. What else is needed?
There's a raised walkway between the prisoners and the fire.
Okay, so, okay. Sure. That look good? Like a wall? All right. Then what?
That's a pretty good
There's
one.
humans carrying vessels.
I've been doing this for a while. So. All right, so there's like a dude over here. He's carrying vessels, so like under his arm, anywhere above the head. All right. And what are the vessels of?
Statue.
You said like of an animal, so.
It looks like a pumpkin.
How's that a pumpkin, man? That's totally dude, and he's walking here. See? Okay. Yeah. That's what's up. What else? Oh, okay. Over here?
Yeah.
Okay. This is just gonna get bad. I can barely draw anything. Trying to draw it again is just like, forget about it. He's got a weird nose. All right. Cool. Anything else significant here? How do I know this person's a prisoner?
Yeah, so should be chains.
Chains. So, chains. Maybe tying him to the wall. Yeah, what about, so arms bound? Anything else? Yeah. Heads bound. Okay, so that they can't move their head. All right. Does that look pretty good? For the most part, there's multiple prisoners. I'm not going to draw all of them. If you could think of one line in the whole thing that kind of sums it up, like the whole point of that elaborate picture that he painted for us? What would it be? Line 6? True, he said. By the way, this is the truest thing Glaucon ever said. I swear, this dude is like the most stock character ever. You guys know what a stock character is, or a flat character?
They're just there.
Yeah, they're just there. They're like used to like facilitate something, but they're not actually important at all. They don't change. There's nothing special about them. They're just like there. I see. He's not a very good conversationalist either. So you guys at least gave some voice to Glaucon. I gotta say props for that, right? How could they see anything but the shadows if they were never allowed to move their heads? If they were never allowed. Yeah, most of the time it's not because you intended it. It's sloppy, right? That's it. It happens. If they were never allowed to move their heads. All right, this is definitely important. So if we're going between this one and this one, you guys got line 13. To them, I said the truth would be literally nothing but the shadows of the images. What do you guys think? The rest of the class. Who do you think kind of covers exactly what that section means, or for the most part? Which one do you think's better? If you had to pick one line to sum up that first 14 lines.
1A has more detail.
I mean,
It's supposed to be like what it's supposed to represent, not like
yeah, the idea over the specifics. The specifics are important, but is this specific also encapsulated in this idea? Does this cover the gist of that, the whole point of that? Yeah, it does. Although, this is important. This is definitely a good line. And, hey, look, Glaucon actually got a voice. Although, we don't do this. You do this, but who wrote this? Plato, right? So, regardless of who's talking in the dialogue, Plato gets the credit because he's the one who wrote it down. So, sucks for you, Socrates. Did the parenthetical citation. Good. Also, where does the period go?
After the citation.
Yeah, we just do that. Huh? No, that's not in the quote. No, this is good. This is how you get around it, because it drives me crazy that if, let's say, it's not the end of a sentence, but you have to put a period inside the quote, you're like, but that's a lie. That's not really in there. This is the way around it. You're like, well, it wasn't the end of the sentence, but I don't care because, I mean, this is probably the end of the sentence, but yeah. You'll see here, like here, you don't need to do this. You don't need to do it at the front or the back. You would just do that. Now here, right, then you might do that. Get what I'm saying? Yeah, I think we're good. It's like this and like that and like this. And that. What? What? No. All right, so just chill, you know? Okay. Now it's just stuck in my head, damn it. All right. So this is weird, but we need a little bit more information. Remember the whole closest cliche thing? If we just stop there, it's really easy to fall into that. And so let's hear a little bit more. Let's go to group 2 first, and then we'll come back to you guys. You're not done. All right, group 2. What happens next?
When we talk about releasing them.
So guy either is released or somehow he's either dragged out or crawls out. Something, right? And so we've got this dude. I'm just going to draw him crawling out. Okay? And then what? What's next? Crawls out. What? What are some more details?
Blinded
Blinded by the light. What does he see first?
Shadows.
Shadows. He does. Which is interesting, right? Because it's the one thing that he knows is the shadow, right? Is the only thing that he knows of as truth. So the first thing he sees is shadows, but that's not why. You ever come out of a movie theater? And obviously the light is blinding. It was blinding. I don't know. Bane. My horrible Bane impersonation. I think the darkness is. No, I'm not even sure. All right. So you come out of the movie theater. You're not looking up. You couldn't even. You still can't. You can't go outside right now and really see the sun, right? Because your eyes will burn. We kind of need to use filters and stuff like that to see the sun, right? So you don't go outside and you're immediately able to see the sun. You go outside and you look down because you're just trying not to trip over anything because you're blinded by the light, right? And then the first thing you see is the darkest things, which are the shadows, right? And then you start getting more and more details. Yeah? You've had this happen before. Yeah. Okay. What happens for this dude who's never seen anything but shadows? Is he able to make any sense of these things yet? And not really. When does he make sense of things? When is he able to make sense of them? What's one of the things? No? Anything.
Reflection.
Ah, okay. I'm just going to draw a tree. There we go. Why is this when it clicks? He sees a reflection, and then it clicks for him. What clicks? Is the reflection the real thing? No, it's not. But he can see the real thing, and he can compare the two. Also, a reflection is it similar to a shadow? How's it similar?
They're not the exact object, they're like reflections.
It's not the exact object, it's a two-dimensional representation of it, whereas a shadow is just the outline, right? But the reflection has a little bit more detail to it, right? It'll have even color. So he's able to then make this connection, and then he realizes what? What does he now realize about all the things that he took as reality? They weren't the reality. They were a shadow of reality, right? And so we've got this elaborate freaking thing that he maps out and just has some stock character like nodding his head the whole time while he's trying to lay it out, right? Do you think this really happened? Do you, like, not just him telling the story to some dude, but do you think this, like, someone actually did this? He's like, let me tell you this story I heard last week. It was on BuzzFeed, and they found this, like, cave where, like, people were, like, sitting there, like, in their own urine and feces and, like, just for, like, years, 20 years, their whole lives, just staring at a wall. Do you think that really happened? I mean, first of all, they didn't have BuzzFeed back then. This was the 4th century BCE. So, did this really happen?
It's hard to say.
It's hard to say. Do you think someone could do that long? First of all, we didn't really start experimentation until like the 15th century, 15th, 16th, maybe 17th century. We have, Galileo dropping stuff off the Leaning Tower, and then Sir Robert Boyle making the vacuum pump where he actually was able to suck out the atmosphere from this vacuum chamber and then drop things like a feather and a ball at the same time, and then you could actually see and prove facts. It's when the scientific method is where you make a controlled experiment and you test to see things so that you can come to an actual conclusion without a whole bunch of variables screwing it up, right? So this kind of thing going on way back then, maybe in World War II and the Cold War, something like this might have happened, but definitely not back then. right? Yeah, they probably did worse. There's some horrible experiments. We'll even talk about some that they did, but not this. So this is, we get it in the title, right? Sometimes it's just called Plato's Cave. Other times it's called the Allegory of the Cave. What is an allegory? Not all at once. What's an allegory? What's a metaphor?
A simile without like it has.
Okay, so it's like a simile, which is a simile. What kind of things do we use, or do we use metaphors for? Yeah, let's say that. Ooh, yeah, okay. That's still a simile though. But it's fine, you're getting there, right? It would be like, it's hell out here. Man, the weather is hell right now. Do we need a metaphor for this pen? For you to understand what this marker is, thank you. What this Expo dry erase marker is, low odor, yeah, with a chisel tip. Do you need a metaphor for this? No, you understand what it is because you can see it, you can touch it, you can smell it. Don't do that because you'll, oh man. Yeah, you can already understand what this thing is. All right, but what about something like love, like we talked about earlier, or how hot it is, right? Metaphors are useful for things that are less tangible, right? This is tangible. I can touch it. I can touch this. I can feel it, right? I can empirically examine this thing and have an understanding of it. But when it comes to something that is more metaphysical, it's like love, or something that I can't physically examine, right? Then I have to have a picture of it, or I have to compare it to something that is physical. Like students are water. Students are water.
We technically are.
You are technically water, but you are also water in this sense too. Water takes the path of least resistance, right? So likewise with students, I've found through the years that if I leave any gaps, any way for a student to do something the easy way, they will. And so my job as an instructor is not only just to give you the task, but also to kind of like barricade it in so that you can't do anything else but the task properly, right? You're like water, and I need to like dam it up like every other option so that you have to go through the hard task itself in order to do well and grow and learn, right?
Water also creates candies.
Yeah. I mean, this is important still. Metaphors and analogies and allegories will all break down. They can only be used for a couple things, and then if you poke at them too much, they'll fall apart. So don't just take, this is why, like let's say with religions, if you make a doctrine, meaning a belief, out of something that's a parable, you can get into danger there, because a parable is meant to prove and convey a point, but it's not necessarily going to work for every possible application. It is. It's a giant metaphor. But in this case, it's a story, right? A metaphor that's a story has now become an allegory. Good. Okay, so with this one, this is obviously an allegory. It never really happened, but he's trying to prove this complicated point about something, right? And you guys have some theories about what this is about, and if you read the whole thing through, he even tells you what he thinks, but there's tons of applications for this. Do you guys have any applications? How about this? Okay. Is there anything you can compare this to now? Just, he had to like be all long-winded to explain this thing out, but is there anything you could do to just make it so much simpler if you wanted to explain this to someone? The point that he's trying to make, or the point that you would like to make with it, instead of like mapping out like all of that. What could you use?
Bleeding.
So instead of being like, it's like a pen or something like that, could you compare it? Like, Have a metaphor? You guys can't think of anything else that it could be? How about, yeah, you could be like Bane. Bane does this. How about this? Now I know they don't look like this, but I'm drawing here. So if I just drew that, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to do this part. Humor me. You ever seen one of those? Yeah? You ever seen one of these? Oh, okay. Yeah, you have seen one. All right, good. Hey. All right. What do you do with these? Do you like sit on this and then watch this, or what do you like? How do you use this?
Sit on the chair.
I know. Okay, sit on the chair.
TV's on.
The TV's on, then you're on your phone, right? Yeah, probably. We've come so much further than this, right? In fact, one semester, I had like a large amount of students, once they got on break, they just pulled out their phone and just started streaming. Just whatever show. Some girl was like watching, she was binge watching Supernatural. And she just like couldn't, like every waking moment she was just on that. So this is, could this be that? You guys watch TV like a lot, or like TV shows or something to that extent? You watch vlogs or whatever, like, okay. Could you name all, or 5 of the main characters from like Family Guy? Or how about 5 of the main characters from the Kardashians show? Yeah? Okay. How about 5 of the main characters, 5 Marvel superheroes? Could you name 5 Marvel superheroes? Could you maybe even name 5 Marvel superheroes that could fly? Get a little more specific with that. Could you name 5 Marvel characters that could definitely defeat Thanos? WTF? No? All right, whatever. So that gets a little bit more narrow here, but okay. So that's one angle of this, right? We've got this potentially, right? But what about the chains? Let's go back. So this analogy, we kind of have an idea of what it is, right? What would you say this could be? Okay. No, well, yeah, okay. Oh, stuck in the classroom? Like this is... Wait, why not though? Why not? Okay, go on with yours though. Yeah.
Junior high or elementary school or high school, like you're stuck there, or elementary school, we have the same teacher,
Mm-hmm.
like all you know is like their way of teaching and their way of showing you, so all they know are the shadows.
Yeah.
And I've seen it as like when you go and start switching classes, and I did it in 4th grade, but like when you start switching classes,
Yeah.
you start seeing like reality, oh shoot, like it's not just what Miss B says, it's it.
Okay. That's kind of cool, and I don't think I've ever actually heard a student say that part. Normally, who thought of as you start going to college and you start really learning things about the world or something like that, right? Did anyone think that? No? Okay. Yours, though, that's a significant point. If you're only hearing what someone else thinks or believes, because, I mean, to be fair, you're hearing it through a human, right? So whatever they know is what they're passing on to you. They might not know exactly what something is. Like let's say with history, right? When I was a kid, what I learned about history of like the way that our country was made was a lot different from what you guys hear now, right? There's a couple more things that they've left out a little bit back then. And I mean, we're the good guys, right? We're always the good guys. No? Oh no? Did you guys learn that we're not always the good guys? That's what Captain America told me, though. Yeah, we're doing stuff with that. Who watched Black Panther? And then realized really quickly that this was going to be super problematic if they didn't tackle a specific issue. They're in the middle of a continent that has like tons of poverty and death all around them, and they have all this technology and stuff like that. Like from the very beginning of the movie, you're like, there's definitely something problematic here if they've just been sitting there for centuries building their technology and letting everyone else die around them, right? And then they decide, well, that's what we better make the entire premise of this movie about, dealing with that problem, which is, did you guys notice that got dealt with? Yeah, it was kind of like the main point of the issue, the struggle. Yeah, okay, so there's that. I really like that school, and it's going to come back, actually. Okay, so what about prison or something like that, like actual prison? Did anyone think that? What else did you guys think of?
North Korea.
North Korea. Yeah, why not, right? I could be thinking about other countries. Yeah, totally. Okay, what about, so let's see, there's freedom issues. How do we, does this really go through? Because you watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it, stuff like that, right? So it's not really like you are free to do this, and you're free to do whatever else you want to do. Yeah? What about the chains here? So, freedom. Yeah? We're free.
Are we?
Yeah, we live in the freest country there is, right? I could walk down the street, pick up someone's baby, and just like drop kick it, right? I can do whatever I want.
And you'll be arrested.
Oh yeah, once. I could do that once. No, I can't. I can't do anything I want, right? How do I know what I can and can't do?
Laws.
There are laws. What kind of, it's not just pure freedom. We live in what kind of system? What? Democratic Republic. All right, good. You guys have been learning a little bit more about this as like everything's been like super shitty. To say, that's the scientific term for it. That's what scholars say. So you can look at laws. So our laws are found where?
And the Bill of Rights.
Right, and so according to the Bill of Rights, you know your freedoms, right? So, and that's, the 10, right? And then there's, of course, the amendments after that and everything. So we have, in the First Amendment, we have 5 freedoms. So you guys could probably all name, characters from your favorite show, but can you name your 5 freedoms according to the First Amendment? Just one person, name all 5. Can anyone in this room do that? Don't whisper it either, right? Don't band together here. What are your 5 freedoms? Someone, you think you've got it? No, then don't do it. Anyone in here think you can name all 5 of your freedoms according to the First Amendment? Who wants to give a stab at it, but like no help from anyone else? Yeah?
Freedom of speech.
Wait, are you? Just write this down. Just look it up. All right, freedom of, so speech. Good.
Speech, freedom to bear arms.
Nope.
No?
Number 2. that's in the Second Amendment. Close.
Religion.
Religion. There we go. What? What?
I thought you were like the top 10 amendments or something.
No. Okay, hold on. You think you got all of the first 5 rights according to the First Amendment?
Okay, speech, religion. Hold on. No, okay.
That's it? She already said all those. What else? Press. Uh-huh. Nothing else? Okay, anyone else know one of them that is not these 3? There's 2 more. Assemble. And so oftentimes I'll get, not often actually, everyone struggles with this, which, we'll talk about that after. But, people can get the first 3, but then, or first 4, but then the one that almost no one ever gets is, so if I could spell correctly, it would be petition, right? Petition, who? What does that even mean? What does petition mean? A symbol is probably insinuating protest.
President.
Right? President? Do you think the president's going to answer you? No. So speech, religion, you guys get this? Freedom to say what you want to say, freedom to believe what you want to believe, freedom to say, like in writing, what you want to say, right? Get your voice out there in writing. And then a symbol, like to congregate and to protest, stuff like that. And then petition, though. What is petition?
When you get people to sign a petition.
Yeah, could be that. Where did those go? Petition your rep. Who's your rep? What's a rep? Yeah, your representative. How do we vote? How do we vote for president? Once every 4 years, we go and we vote, and that's how you get your president, right? No? Oh, what was the 2-year thing? What happens on the 2-year mark? What do you vote for on the 2-year mark? Does anyone do that one, by the way? Ah, there we go. What do they do?
They represent your portion of the state, right?
Ah, yeah, so let's see. Our president gets decided on what? 2 votes. Popular vote and electoral vote, right? Which, okay, well, does it suck? Does it? I mean, it's there for a reason. You got to figure out why it's there. And then you also have to be paying attention because, yeah, when you're voting for, on that middle marker, that 2-year, you're voting for the guy who's going to be in that electoral college. So they're your representative, which means they need to represent you. But if you don't know who they are, you don't know if they're representing you correctly, or you don't know who to complain to or who to petition or what to petition about, if you're not paying attention to that. So then we get this question. So just because you have these freedoms, if you don't know what they are or how to use them, are you really free? From 1 to America, how free are you tonight? Horrible line. Never let that work on you, by the way. The thing is, though, we have the abilities to elect and to run our country in a way, right? There are laws. We have a constitution that's lasted longer than any other. We have rights. So who's at fault, right? Is it just like, nah, F this noise, let's go and do something else? Or is it like, is there any guilt on us for it? And even though there's no chains on this model of lounger, is it possible that we have chains and they're self-inflicted? So we kind of have to, rush through this next part. So what happens? What happens? He gets out and he realizes that wasn't the reality. That wasn't the truth of what this world is. He becomes awakened in a way, right? What's the next light that goes on for him? What's the next thing that happens? He's like, oh, I realize everything. I can understand even the sun, even though I can barely see it. Huh? Yeah, he's like, what's up, guys? He's like, oh, crap. My homies are back in the cave still. I should probably do something about that. Yeah? So he goes back and what happens? He tells them and then what? Huh? Yeah. So they made a game out of this, right? I mean, shoot, if your whole life is spent here, right? You're gonna probably make a game out of it. Like, who can guess what the next thing's going to be that comes up, right? He comes in and he's like, guys, I've got breaking news. I got something really important I need to share with you. And they're like, what do? Yeah, come sit down. It's the game. Let's play the game, right? Have you ever experienced this? You ever learned something and then you go home and you're like, Mom, Dad, you got to hear what I learned today. And they're like, oh, yeah, the game's on. At the break. Sit down. Watch the game. Sit down, mijo. No? No one's ever had that. What's so significant about, or what's the problem with shadows? What's the problem with shadows?
You can't clearly identify them.
No, you can't. You are looking at one perspective. What's that? It's Pikachu. What else? It's a cat. It's Batman. All right? What happens? What's that? It's a dog or something, right? I'm bad at this. What if I were to tell you they're the same thing? The difference is perspective, right? Okay, so this is the problem, right? You don't have enough to work with. So there's this another analogy or allegory or whatever. There's 4 blind dudes in a pit with an elephant. And they're all trying to figure out what the heck this thing is. And so one feels, the foot, and they're like, it's like a trunk, right? And then another feels the ear, and he's like, it's flat and rubbery. And then another person, they're like, feeling the tail, and they're like, it's like a broom or a snake or something. And then, it's like a broom. And then the other guy's feeling the trunk, and he's like, it's like a snake. Are any of them wrong? They're not necessarily wrong with the information that they can glean, but they only have part of the picture. And so this is the problem when we only have a small amount of it. And oftentimes what we start with in life is just very small amount of information. There's certain things that you believe now that you've believed always. You don't remember a time before that. Have you always been an Angels fan?
Yeah.
Yeah? Right? Why?
Because I grew up in Anaheim.
Yeah, well, you grew up in Anaheim. Your parents, is it their favorite team? Yeah, of course. Exactly. Anything else like that?
My beliefs.
Yeah, beliefs, like religion. Is anyone here raised Catholic or raised something? Yeah? Or raised atheist even? Yeah. Even that, right? That's still a belief system. It's not just against, that's a belief system of being against a belief in God, right? And so the thing is, these are biases, right? They're very limited in their perspective. They are not necessarily bad. What's bad is when you take the bias and you let it control your perspective of everything else, right? In a way where you refuse to acknowledge the other side of it. Yeah, so really quick, Aristotle said this. The dude who was the disciple of Plato, he said, "It is the mark of an educated mind to entertain a thought or an argument without accepting it." So just because you entertain it and you hear it all the way out, it doesn't mean you have to accept it. In fact, it's the mark of being educated. It's the mark of someone who's willing to hear it out, but fully, like, you still have the ability to then think about it and then reject it. This is not me trying to say throw away your religion or throw away your favorite baseball team or the Raiders if you're a football fan. I'm definitely not going to tell you that. I don't want to get followed to the parking lot. But it is me warning you, don't let your bias control or limit your perspective. If anything, the bias can enhance. You should be able to use your bias. Because of your bias, you know so much about that thing. Now you have a perspective that you can use to lend to conversation and dialogue and things of the world that need that insight. Like if we're talking about baseball players and stuff like that, you know a lot more about the Angels players than you do about the other players. Or if you are talking about beliefs in the world, right? You know a lot more about a specific belief that you've been raised with, and so you can bring that insight into it. So I'm not saying to reject or deny anything that you have. I'm just saying don't let it cripple your ability to think objectively. Yeah? Yes. Okay. So what I was trying to get to here, but I was running out of time, and so I spaced on it and rushed through it, was that when we learn something new that we realize changes how we perceive reality, that or gives us more perspective or a larger perspective, we might go to share it with other people, like let's say our parents when we get home, or our friends when we go and play video games with them or something like that. And because their bias and their perspective about the world kind of hinder them from understanding, they will oftentimes get frustrated, and they will end up saying, can we just play video games? I really don't want to hear about what you learned in class or what you learned from that book or from the dark side of YouTube or something like that. So you might get frustrated too and think that someone needs to listen to you, but that's the thing, it goes both ways. Understanding that someone else's bias might get in the way, but likewise yours as well, because that changes your bias, but you still have bias. And so understanding that having more perspective and not letting our bias limit us. It's funny, we can compare the people in the cave not wanting to hear to the same people who would rather play the video game, the thing that they have, or watch the game, the sports game that they find their identity in. Just like how people who play football and dress up in war paint and they know everything about the team and everything about they even fantasy football, right? The way that we'll put money on it or whatever. If we're talking football, as in like worldwide football, soccer, you'll see people riot over games, and it gets serious. People die or people get hospitalized over sports. Over people winning or losing sports. And so that or video games, or maybe someone trying to live through the telenovela that they watch and being able to tell you every little thing about who cheated on who, or who killed who, or who came back from the dead, or what the monkey did, is so important to them that it might be more important than what you want to tell them about or what you've learned, and seeing that maybe you struggle with that same thing in hearing other perspectives, they also might struggle with it too, or how you might have, or you'll still be struggling with it, but someone else struggling with having a narrow perspective and not seeing the importance of what you have found to be truth, or what you have found out is the truth, means that you need to have more patience with them to help them at least see, or to try and plead with them to see what is important. She's like on the spool. She looks so majestic. Ruby, puppy. Come on.
You could just hear her.
I know. Oh, puppy. Oh, puppy. Oh, puppy.